Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to day 4 of the Engage conference. I'm Jamie Gallagher and welcome to the Engage live stream. This little corner of the internet where we catch you up with the day's goings on. We invite reporters on who have been to sessions that you might not have been able to get along to so that they can give you some of the thoughts and the ideas that happened over the course of the day. So welcome to all of you that are joining me again today. I'm delighted that again people come back time and time again to join in with these live streams. We are hoping that people are joining us, one, to catch up on some of the sessions they might have missed, or two, because they've not been able to get to Engage this year, and we want to give you a little window into what has been happening. So this is day 4, and again, a really, really busy day. We were thinking about ethics a lot today and what that means in terms of engagement. And that's where we started off with the plenary. So I just say quick hello to everyone that is watching. If you're watching, say hello in the chat box. Tell us who you are, where you are. It's always nice to connect with you because this is the whole point. We're live and you get to chat to us and put your questions and add your comments. What have you been to at Engage? Have you been to the plenary session? Have you been to some others? Did you go to the Living Library? Tell us in the chat box how your day has been looking. Or maybe it's not been very engagey at all. Are you joining us today for the first time? Just chat to me. Make me feel like we're all engaging, that we're in a real space. That would be nice. So hello and welcome and get chatting. If you're watching on Periscope and you're thinking, how do I chat? How do I chat? I'm unsure of how to do it. It's slightly more complicated. You do need to be logged into a Periscope account, which not everyone has if you're not live streaming. So if you're watching just now on Twitter, but you want to join the conversation, then it might be easier to jump over, swap ship onto YouTube, where you'll find us on the NCCP channel. If you are watching us on the NCCP channel, then do please click subscribe, click like. We would really like to know that the content is working for you, and we want to make sure that when we go live, you're there and listening. And this is even the only time we're going to be going live today. We are going to be going live again later on for the open mic night. So at 4:15, we're going to be going live. We're going to be having different public engagement professionals give their own interpretation of engagement of their year of the world. I've seen some of the entries and they're quite extraordinary. You do not want to miss out on this. So that's the open mic night is happening tonight on YouTube, totally free. Join us at 4:15. Now, what I thought I'd start off with is, before I introduce my guests, we've got Enna McKenna and we've also got Akram Khan, both of whom you met earlier on the week, and they're back to talk us through the workshops that they've been to. I thought I would just start off just with some thoughts on the plenary session. Yay! Faye is joining us on Periscope. Hi, Faye! I'm glad it's working. I'm also delighted when I see a comment coming in from Periscope. That pleases me because then I know that something's working. I think you should create a digital platform. Bingo. Goodness knows I'm on most of them. We're not on Twitch. We're not streaming on Twitch right now. Hopefully we are on YouTube and Periscope. My little thing says I am. Well, one says an error. Oh, hi, Sarah. Oh, from Oxford. I'm clicking the wrong button. I will mention you later on, Sarah. Thanks for joining us. How handy that you're here, because you're one of the engagement experiences that's been uploaded. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. I wanted to share just some thoughts of my own this time. Normally I'm asking other people their thoughts. I thought I'd just give you some of my own. And I thought I'd start off with the plenary session. So this morning, we were looking at responsible research and engagement. This was a fantastic panel. If you were there, you know exactly what I mean. If you weren't, we had some really great insights, as we always do in these sessions, but I think this time in particular, lots of perspectives from different areas of academia and outside of academia. What does responsible research and engagement mean? And some of the things that I thought that I really enjoyed, a lot to process said. Now, I'm just looking at my notes. So Raika was saying that some of the challenges that we feel we've achieved may not actually have been so deeply won. And I thought that was really fascinating. The idea of we think we've solved certain problems, but actually COVID, times of crisis, reveals that maybe those changes have not been as fully won as we thought. The Black Lives Matter, and we realize, hang on, we thought we had made some progress, but actually that progress might have been an illusion. I think that's a really important thing to think. Have we solved problems? Have we truly solved problems? Or do we just think, yes, things have kind of settled down? So constantly thinking, how deeply won are the challenges, or are we just moving on to new topics? She also mentioned the intersection between poverty and race and racism and how different groups are affected. And when it comes to responsible research, we're constantly thinking, where are these people? How are we connecting? How are the people at the heart of the research of the ethical process? And Radhika was also really keen on increasing diversity in teams. And I thought she said a really nice thing. She said, don't just recruit one person, one new and different voice into that team. Recruit two. So they can be a smaller group within a larger group. One person can easily, it's difficult for them to fight alone. So we're not just looking for a singular voice to add a single diverse voice. You can't have a diverse voice. You want a diversity of voices. So making sure that we're not just recruiting that one new person, but an ally, so that our teams have teams within them and they're able to champion different groups and different rights. Richard took us through a kind of extraordinary journey. He started off in the medieval England, the idea of a peasant and how much agency that peasant standing in a muddy field had over their lives, and questioned, has that really changed? Do we have more freedom, or are our stories already written? And again, Richard had a nice comment when he said that times of crisis are also times of great change. All the pieces are thrown up into the air. So when we have situations like COVID, there is chaos, and pieces, when they are thrown into the air, they land in slightly different ways. And so it provides us opportunity for change. But we do also need to think, who is going to be affecting that change? Who is in control? So when the pieces land and new directions are set, are we making sure that we're on a better course? And I thought it was a really interesting point from Richard. And I just wanted to highlight just one point from Emily Morrison as well, who said that there's been a survey done, and they asked people in communities how much agency they felt they had and the ability to foster change in their local community. Pre-pandemic, that was at 29%. 29% of people believed that they had the ability to influence their community and create change. Now, when we've gone back, so we're talking just a year, 47%. So that's quite interesting. An increase of nearly 20% of people thinking they have the ability to create change. And again, it's these times of crisis that allow us the option to change our direction, but making sure that we're off in the direction that we really want, and that we're having different people feed into those discussions so that all our achievements can be deeply won as well. So those were some of the things that I took away from this morning's plenary, but there was so much to digest. I think everyone left thinking, I need some time to just settle these ideas and think through them. And the plenaries were recorded and they'll be uploaded later. So you can experience them at your leisure and go back and enjoy some of those points. Now, I do want to get on to meet our first guest today. And so we're going to go to Emma McKenna in just a second and just hear a little bit of what she's experienced of the day. So if I just bring up Emma on screen just now. So Emma, hello. Welcome back to the little virtual stage, to the Engage Live. Now, if people missed your contribution earlier in the week, can you just remind us who you are and where you work?
I work in the science shop at Queen's University in Belfast, and what we would do mainly is work with communities who need research done and with students who need to do research as part of their degree and match the two together. And I also am kind of involved in European networks in that field as well.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us again, Emma. Now, remind us, this is not your first Engage. How many Engages have you been to?
All of them. I'm wondering, actually, is there anyone else apart from Paul and Sophie who've been to? Every year I say, no, I can't justify it this year. I've been to so many, and then the theme comes out and I think, oh, but that's so interesting.
So particularly delighted to have you reporting back on the sessions, because having been there from the start, great insights, Emma. So now just tell me, which of the sessions did you manage to get along to today?
Well, and it's not just today, actually, yesterday as well, because so much of my work is around engagement through teaching and learning. So I have tended to highlight and prioritize those sessions, and particularly because at the start there was nothing in Engage around that area. So it's kind of exciting that we have a building network. So I was just at a session on building an engaged practitioners network, and then yesterday I was at a session run by King's College London around embedding public engagement into postgraduate training.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how, just broadly, how has the conference been going for you, do you feel? Because obviously being online, completely different situation. Are you liking it? Are you finding it challenging? How are you experiencing the virtual conference?
There are really good things about it. I'm still wearing slippers. That's fantastic. I've got my own coffee mug, all those sorts of things. But what I'm finding is, I suppose, because I've been around this stuff a long time, and sometimes the things you want to pick up with people on aren't the things you really want to ask them publicly in front of 40 people. And they aren't the things they want to answer publicly in front of 40 people. So that's the stuff that I feel I'm missing out on, is okay, that's the really nice example, that's fantastic, but tell me, did that bit really work? Or what did you learn from the bits of it that didn't work? Because you don't always feel comfortable saying that in a live stream. So I feel like I'm missing out on those side conversations a little bit. But I'm still really grateful to be part of it.
Yeah, it's difficult to replicate those kind of informal interactions. Like, what I'm thinking is, think of the conversations. There have been so many engages, you'll know exactly the ones I mean. After the session, and you're filtering out of the room, and it's just as you're filtering out of the room, and you're kind of chatting to the person next to you about the ideas you've just experienced. That's what we kind of lose, because it's kind of like we're all here together, and you can put something in the chat for everyone to see, and then we're all gone as well, which is really challenging. But we're doing the best we can. I think the conversations are still happening, and hopefully people can remember that there's the notice board as well if they want to carry on conversations and they've got questions to post them on the notice board. So Emma, if you just talk us through just the first session you mentioned there, can you just tell us just a little bit of what was discussed for people that weren't able to make it?
Well, to be fair, I had to leave halfway through it to come here. But it was around building an engaged practitioners network in this area of kind of community engaged learning, service learning. So it's quite a broad network, actually. And in fact, I think it has some genesis in Engage last year, because I know I was talking with Marie Zapaki from UCL, who is one of the main movers in that network at that time. So it's colleagues from De Montfort University, from King's College, from Nottingham Trent, and from UCL as well, who are trying to bring people together loosely who are interested in this kind of area of community engaged and community-based learning. Because one of the things I've always thought is, if we want people to be engaged practitioners, we need to start them when they're at university. We need to start them in school, but I'm not taking that bit on. So we need to start them earlier thinking about this. So this is a place for people to exchange good practice. And I would say there was certainly 40 or 50 people there. And my notifications have been going crazy with pop-ups because it was a Teams meeting. So clearly people are really enjoying it and really getting a lot out of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And was this kind of session, was there any kind of things that you thought, oh, this is an idea that I'm going to take away, or something I want to go back? Or is it just about carrying on those conversations?
Well, they were just getting to that point when I had to leave. So I'm going to have to go back and look. They did say that they would put a link on the Engage. I'm going to say Padlet because I was in a meeting about a Padlet earlier. It's not Padlet. What is it? The notice board.
It will, the notice board is a Padlet, so you're right on both counts.
Perfect. So they're going to put something on the notice board about it. So if people are interested, I would really encourage you to follow up with them. I think they'll be running some more seminars. They ran a conference in May, I think. So there'll be more happening in this field.
And then there was you just wanted to touch on the other session that you went to that you thought was particularly good as well. Can you just tell us just a little bit about that?
So this was King's College London. It was Alice Taylor-Gee and colleagues who were running it. And it was around embedding public engagement into postgraduate taught training. So they had students from a range of different disciplines, broadly around kind of engineering, medical disciplines, coming together to run public engagement events. So to run stalls, one student did a podcast. So to do different public engagement activities. But students, it's a compulsory module, which I thought was really interesting because students are sometimes resistant of these things being compulsory modules. And they had a couple of the students on talking about it as well. I was in a small group with one of the students who was so enthusiastic about it. And both students had gone on to do PhDs, which again speaks a little bit to the point of if these are going to be future researchers, this is exactly the kind of experience you want to be giving them early on when there aren't stakes and there isn't money or grants or reputations involved. You want to be giving them a taste of that stuff early.
And then just looking forward, we've got one more day left of the Engage conference. Have you planned out your schedule for the next day?
I have, and I can't remember what it is. There's the open mic night tonight, obviously, and I'm looking forward to. I think we're all kind of going to speak briefly at the plenary tomorrow as well. So that's probably my morning is figuring out what I'm saying at the plenary, if I'm entirely honest.
Brilliant, Emma. Thank you so much. And you'll be back as well. Not done on live streams just yet either. You'll be back again tomorrow as we bring all our contributors back for our live stream tomorrow. Emma, thank you very much for joining us and talking us through the sessions that you've been exploring. Thanks, Emma. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that was Emma McKenna, and next we're going to have Akram Khan in just a few minutes, and he'll talk you through some of the sessions that he's been experiencing today, catching up for those who may have missed out. Before we do, I do want to dive into some tweets as well. I've been watching tweets. Interesting, Emma said that she thinks there's been fewer tweets this year. And I think it might be true. It might be true. It might not be. I'm not too sure. But what I'm thinking is maybe fewer tweets because we're all in sessions talking to each other anyway, whereas normally you're sitting quietly in your room and you are wanting to join the conversation, whereas because we've got the Zoom chats and the Teams chats, the conversations are happening elsewhere. So don't forget to tweet, #Engage2020, and I will be browsing through them. A few nice ones. Oh, wrong one. Cover that one. This was a nice one from Ben Litherfield, who felt that you might be missing out on kind of snowy, cold Bristol. So he shared a little Christmas picture from last year so that you can reminisce about when we were all together in Bristol last time. I also am enjoying the Living Library, so kind of facilitating conversations. It's worth checking out the Padlet for this. I will put a link into the chat box where you can have a little look and see what conversations were happening today. So just put this into the chat box, the Living Library. The idea that you can go and connect with a person for a specific conversation. It's an idea that's been going around for a few years. I think it's a really nice idea. The idea of kind of, I'm a person who has a story to tell, come and chat to me, a living library. Also, if you've tuned into any of the other live streams, you'll know I'm a big fan of Nats Picchu. And we've got a little kind of detective-y one, little bowler hat happening today. I am living for Public Engagement Pikachu. And next year, just throwing it out there, Public Engagement Pets. Public Engagement Pets. Next year, save it up for next year. That's going to be the hashtag for next year. Another little project I want to highlight, something I think is absolutely wonderful. Sarah Cosgrave, along with Hannah and Kirsty, ran a SciComm crafting session. If you've not come across SciComm crafting before, it's a beautiful project. The idea is on a Zoom call, you get together, you each do your own crafting project, and you can just share and connect with people. And it's been a really nice way, I think, for the science communication community to connect over lockdown. So SciComm Crafting, check it out. They ran a session at Engage the other day, but Sarah also organises regular SciComm Crafting sessions where you can come together and do your own little craft project and have a little chat with some other science communicators. I also want to mention the short films. That's where I was saying Sarah's joining us in the chat there. It's worth checking out the festival playlist, which gives you examples of practice that have been gathered from kind of across the sector. Again, I'm going to put link in the chat box there, and that's just a little playlist of just little short videos talking you through some of the practice that people have been getting up to in the past little while. Some great examples in there, so do check that out. Mugs of Engage. I cannot get enough of this. So we've got a good old Star Wars mug, and being massive geek, I'm wearing a Star Trek t-shirt. Star Wars, I love it too. So I'm a big fan of Engage mugs, big fan of Geeky Engage mugs. And speaking of Geeky Engage mugs, also Dan, who I believe did kickstart the Mugs of Engage hashtag. Beautiful little labyrinth mug there, which I'm really enjoying. So that's a little review of the tweets. Keep the tweets coming in. I do want to see them. Keep chat comments going as well. I am checking them as we go through today. But we're going to now get on to our second contributor of the day. So we did already meet Akram earlier on in the week, but we're going to be introducing Akram back to our virtual stage to hear a little bit about what he has been experiencing today. So let's say hello to Akram. Hello.
Hello. Cool.
There we go. We found you. We found you.
But yeah,
Hi, Akram. How are you?
nice to see you. Can you hear me?
And so again, just in case people didn't catch your contribution on Monday, can you just remind the viewers just now who Akram Khan is?
Yes, it's always a tough question, honestly. So Akram is a particle physicist at Brunel University, and he's also the academic lead for public engagement.
Brilliant, thanks, Akram. And you might also recognise Akram from the interviews that were done. So it was compilations made. So Akram did a few weeks ago. I interviewed him, and we made this little compilation video. And actually, when Paul got your video, no one knows I was going to say this in live stream, but when Paul got your video, he just thought it was absolutely fantastic. He thought like it was just really conversational and chatty. And I was saying to Paul, it was such a joyful project for me to run, because I got to spend just a week just connecting with all these public engagement professionals and hearing extraordinary stories of high points and low points throughout the year. And it was just such a nice thing. So if you're watching and you've not seen Akram's contribution to the interviews, make sure you're checking that out. And again, it's on the YouTube page. You can find out all the answers to all the questions that the PEP people contributed. So Akram, sessions, are you just out of a session as well just now? What have you experienced today so far?
It was incredible, honestly. I've just in a different zone, I think, coming out of the last session. I mean, I went to the plenary session in the morning, which was astounding and amazing. Lots of interesting ideas, lots of provocations, and I think lots of utopian thinkings. And the question is, actually not utopian thinking, utopian imaginations. You know, people can think what they would want ideally, and the question is, how do you rationalize, how do you optimize, you know, the best places to be, and how you can innovate. And I think there was lots of ideas which I think I really need to think about. You know, how does one do this? Because we all need to do this. How do you optimize this? And so that was brilliant. I think that was amazing. And I think the one that I've just come from, it was a completely different tone. It was a very, very beautifully run workshop.
Yeah, I'm particularly keen to hear about this one, because actually we had Carl, who's been watching each day. I specifically asked, and a lot of other people have asked me, can we have a little bit of an insight into this session? So can you just tell us just the title of the session first of all?
Yeah, it's the wind phones of Atashu and Belfast, and I think it was a very, very sensitive and a very, very powerful workshop, dealing with actually very deep resonating issues on how does one cope with grief, with loss. You know, how do you cope with a sense of guilt? You know, how do you search for strength in these times, these very traumatic and troubling times? You know, and I think what Patrick was also trying to do, he was trying to say, well, actually, one has to endure and seemingly bear with patience and dignity through this time, and reach out to something beyond, and something maybe with somebody at some moments. And I think that there were ways of trying to come to terms with this, because I mean, the other powerful thing that he mentioned was that, you know, when we have grief, when our heart is filled with grief, we are burdened to a large extent, and it stops the senses. It stops us from feeling. And sometimes we have to release that in whatever way that we can, such that we can feel again, such that we can touch again, such that we can live again, such that we can communicate and appreciate life. And I think it was very, very powerfully done. I mean, you know, there were amazing moments of reflection and audience participation. I mean, people were amazingly drawn into it. You know, about how does one come to terms with this? And so you know, you come out thinking, wow, truly thoughtful and reflective. And how do you engage people or the community or universities in actually trying to pilot such projects, you know, or make people think about these issues?
Yeah, so the session itself was focusing on survivors of the 2011 tsunami. Is that correct?
That's right. The idea was that that was something that was done in Japan. There was this telephone, a Bakelite black telephone, disconnected. It wasn't connected, and it was put into this sort of a telephone booth, and there's a pad that's next to it, and people who've lost people or who missed people would go and they would phone and they would talk to the wind and they would express their connection to what? I mean, that's the question to ask. Who are you talking to, if not that you're talking to a vacuum, to the wind? And, you have this dialogue, an internal dialogue with yourself. And people have been going, I think we were saying that over 25,000 people have gone since that period. And then they would jot something down of what they felt. And they would, go regularly and communicate with loved ones that they want to see how they would feel, tell them how they've been. And maybe that's one way of sort of engaging with or dealing with loved ones. And, it reminds me, Jamie, of something very powerful. It just occurs to me. I mean, Beckett wrote this wonderful, he's a wonderful dramatist, but he wrote Waiting for Godot. And in there, it just comes across my mind. He wrote, she gave birth across a grave. We see life, but for a fleeting second, and we're back into it again. And I think that beautifully captures that, life that we have is not long, it's very short. And we're back into darkness. We die longer than we live. And while we live, we've got to rejoice. And it's very optimistic because while we live, we've got to enjoy and rejoice. We're given the opportunity of light and interaction and engagement. And so in a way, it for us to appreciate that loss is part of living, you actually live deeper to a large extent.
Mm-hmm. And so in this session was taking those ideas and that concept and that talking to the wind and tying that into how universities can be a kind of civic space for communities. Is that right?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's almost asking. It was almost asking, but not giving any answers. It was just, they were asking questions about how can we develop a space within our community. Because the university is an anchored institution within the community. How can we do this? How can we develop some form of narrative, a discussion? Different voices can come together, and how can we create a quilt? Sort of knit something from these stories into something that the whole community can wear and embrace and take comfort with. Make that your sort of blanket of comfort.
Beautiful. Faye's asking in the chat box as well there on Periscope if the session will be reshared. I don't believe it will, Faye, but do look up Patrick Todd. Is it Patrick Todd? Akram?
Yeah.
Yep, from Belfast, I believe. But I apologies, the session won't be reshared. It's something I'm glad that Akram, you were able to go and share some of the reflections from it. And thank you very much for joining me today. We will be again seeing you tomorrow on the live stream as well, as we bring all the reporters back together for a little bit of a celebration and debrief as well. But Akram, thank you very much for joining me again today. Bye-bye.
Pleasure. Take care. Bye-bye.
So we're right at the end of our live stream again today. But if you're sitting there thinking, I've not had enough Engage live stream, then don't worry, because you're in for a treat. One, we're back again tomorrow, where we'll have all of our guests testing my internet to the limit. We'll be back with all of our reporters as well. One of the co-directors of the NCCP will be joining us again tomorrow for a final summing up of Engage 2020. And we are back live on YouTube again tonight at 4:15. So there's enough time to get away, have a little break, and get back in front of YouTube, settle down. Because honestly, I've seen some of the contributions. They're phenomenal. Like they're going to be, you can imagine what the session's going to be like, and your imaginings are completely wrong. Like when we say open mic, it is open mic, open space. there are some interesting ideas coming your way at 4:15. Thank you very much to everyone who joined me today. I'm delighted to see you all. We will be back again tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So the times are changing slightly so we can fit everything in. 4 o'clock tomorrow for the live stream. I will put a link in the chat box to the live stream, and also thank the Twitter contributors from today, so you can follow up with them. So the live stream link for 4:15 is in the chat box. Also a link to those tweets that I showed you. So please do connect. Another fan of hi Zara. Fan of the Toland. Sorry, I was saying Todd. Toland. I apologize for getting Patrick's name wrong. I think we're going to need some write-ups on that. So hopefully we'll pull some ideas together and we can share a little bit more of Patrick's work, because it does sound like it was a phenomenal session. But for now, that is us finished for this live stream. We'll see you again at 4:15. Thank you very much for joining me, and join me again at 4 o'clock tomorrow for our last live stream of Engage. See you then. Bye-bye.